What's up, folks? Welcome to 𝗬𝗏𝗠𝗃𝗏. I got a special broadcast today. This is breaking. I'm with Lewis Herms, and there's a lot to unpack here. You're a first-hand witness. Let's just kick it off. A first-hand witness to the uncovering of the tunnels, underground tunnels in Los Angeles, specifically Beverly Hills area. Now, how you came across this is pretty wild. Pretty
Yeah.
wild stuff. So, and I've known you for a while. We've done a show way back in the day. So I just want to say I appreciate you coming back on and coming on Nino's Corner. So Lewis, thank you for coming on. I know you're we're gonna play it a little careful here on YouTube, folks, and then we're gonna go on Nino's Corner.tv and just let it all fly. Let it all fly on Nino's Corner.tv because there's a lot of names allegedly that we want to discuss. But Lewis, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, and absolutely. Some of the names are not alleged either, and that's going to be interesting when we flip over to your other channel. But I'll give a summary of the story because it's really fascinating. The reality is God puts us in certain places throughout our lives, and sometimes we don't know till later why we were there. And this is the epitome of what happened here. So, in 1993, there was a huge mansion that was for sale in Beverly Hills. And I happened to be a managing troubleshooter for a large drain company, plumbing and drain company. And we were asked to go out and inspect all the drains and all the plumbing throughout the whole facility because this was to give the new buyer, because it was an escrow, leverage to bring the price down a little bit, right? And that's commonplace, not usually on the scale. So we got in there. We and it. By the way, my territory wasn't usually Beverly Hills, so it was a little bit odd that I was even going there.
Are you still in California or are you
Yes,
somewhere else?
yes, I'm in Southern
You still live
California.
in California?
Yes, highly protected with armed guards around my house as we speak.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm just playing.
Oh, wow.
But I've been told I should be, but the reality is we are highly protected. So I'll just let it go at
Well,
that.
hold on. Let me just cut real quick, folks. I got to do this just for a second. Get your noble gold before we go any further. You got to get your noble gold. Gold is up 48% in a year, doubling NASDAQ and S&P 500 gains. But this isn't just another day. This is not just another rally. Global reserves are shifting as investors rush to secure physical gold, creating a massive supply gap. Gold is vanishing from the market, but you still have a chance. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com today and turn your panic into profit, folks. Make a qualified investment, and Noble Gold would add a free 10th ounce gold coin to your order. NobleGoldInvestments.com. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Get started now. Sorry to interrupt. I got to do it.
No,
But
I get it. I get it. It's
yeah, it's
actually
just
also
part of
gold is also vanishing from Fort Knox too.
that's what I heard. This is
Yes.
wild. And I did see you in Vegas, by the way, and I got to hang out with you just for a little bit, brief hello and goodbyes and stuff. But um, you have a pretty big podcast yourself. You cover stuff yourself, right? On 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹.com.
Yeah, 𝗬𝗏𝗶𝗹.com, and I'm on all over social media, but you know how it works. So I put all my links on my website because I get taken down every other
Yeah.
week. So I just put the new link right back up. But
So
generally, my audience is probably on Rumble, I would say.
so if this happened so long ago, your discovery that we're going to go into here, why are you barely coming out now? Because this has been this has been being talked about for the last 5 years, really, like really
Yeah.
people going pedal to the metal on this for the last 5 years. Why are you just coming out now?
Well, the final piece just fell into place. So I actually did come out 5 years ago with the first two-thirds of the story. But then the connections came through, and this is the God moment. So two other connections came through, came to me, and I was like, oh, wow. And they're directly connected to this. So, and when I tell the story, that'll all fall into place, your answer, because that's a great question. Like, why would this dude hold on to the information for 30 years? Well, the first 27 years, 26 years, I didn't even think anything sinister until I started learning the connections of what was going on. So when we went to this house and inspected it, we went outside, so on and so forth. Even if you go to Google Earth now, which we will show on your other channel, the front gate is completely blurred out. on Google Pro, the street behind the property, where, by the way, my friend and I discovered a secret entrance that I could prove. I have the images of that. That the
And you'll
street
show
behind,
all of that on the back channel?
I'll show all of that. The
Okay.
street behind it, they Google Maps actually removed the name of the street.
What?
How much power do you have to have to in order to get a name removed from a street? So
Yeah, that's huge.
that's crazy talk. So anyway, so we're inspecting the whole property, um, and it's the reason we found out that this guy was purchasing the property because he wanted to break into Hollywood as a Hollywood producer, right? And he had a lot of money. He was a grocery mogul, let's say that. He just amazing all the grocery stores that he owned. So we're on the property. Now remember, the property is vacant because it's in escrow, yet two security guys were following us everywhere for about a day and a half, and I almost tripping over us. So I finally called the owner and I said, you
Making
want
sure you're not to go in places you're not supposed to be.
exactly. But we didn't know that at the time. We just thought it was odd, right?
Now,
So
now let me ask you this, because I've heard that in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, also specifically Beverly Hills, all the big mansions are connected with tunnels. And I've heard from being at the Playboy Mansion, that the grotto, there's tunnels all around the Playboy Mansion that lead to other houses in Beverly
Mhm.
Hills. And I thought that back then, I was like, I don't know if I believe that. Am I
Well,
on the money?
yeah, I think I have some evidence of that, and I'll get to that for sure. So I called the owner and the new owner, and I said, do you want to spend more? Or do you want to spend less? He goes, less. Ludicrous question. I said, well, call off the dogs. I go, they're tripping over each other. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Your house is vacant. You don't have any jewelry hanging around. That he goes, no, no, Lewis, you're right. You're right. So we'll call him off. Now, my real motive is I just wanted my buddy and I to have free reign of this property so we can look at things because we're starting to uncover some weird stuff. As I said, so we found a secret entrance in the back of the property that was covered up by bushes, right? Then we also saw a tiny house on the property that you have to crawl in to get to. Clearly, it was for children. You go into this house on the property, there's an actual working sink and a working toilet, miniature sized, in this.
What?
Yes, it was
Where
crazy.
was this house?
In Beverly Hills. Oh no,
Uh,
the little one was on the property. So the property is 5 acres, and that area was called
wow.
Fairyland. There's actually, and also show a picture of the house. I have it. And then there's actually an actual horse carousel like you'd see at Santa Monica Pier, right on the property.
4 children.
Yep, for kids. At the time, I was naive. This is 30 years ago, and honestly, I'm like, wow, how cool would this be for kids to have a party like this and have a home
You're
like this?
not thinking anything sinister. That's not
Nothing.
even in your, because you don't think people are like that.
No, not 30 years ago. And I was thinking, oh, this is wonderful. What a wonderful little playground for these kids to be able to enjoy. They're safe, is what I was thinking. They don't have to go out in public, especially if they're famous. How cool is this? Didn't even cross my mind the ramifications of this. So we end up going into the house. There's two massive kitchens. They're so big, Nino, that 30 employees could fit in there and do the work. Massive, full size bakeries, everything you can imagine. At the time, it didn't make sense. Now it totally makes sense. They wouldn't want to cater food in, especially if they're doing sinister things there. They would want all these parties to be controlled, right? So now that makes sense. Moving around the house, we went upstairs. They have something I called the black room. You go in, all the paintings are black. The pool table in the middle has black felt on it. Right next to it is a restroom, and I couldn't believe it. And this is right up our alley because we do plumbing. There was a floor urinal that was all black porcelain with gold fixtures, a black toilet, a black sink, a Masonic floor. And at the time, none of it connected, right? To me whatsoever. This is why I didn't
Now,
say that.
now, if you saw this today, you would be like calling
Oh,
the, well, you can't even call
immediately.
the police because they're all involved too. But I mean,
Yeah, you can't call the
I
police.
mean, they're
Yeah.
all interconnected. This is how deep this goes.
So we traveled around, and then finally we got to a library, type of library you would see in Hollywood movies, full beautiful mahogany shelves, floor to ceiling, with the ladder that goes across, just like you see in a mansion. Now this mansion's 45,000 square feet, so it's humongous, right? So you see this ladder, and my friend mentions to me, I believe it was him at the time, that said, imagine if the one of the bookshelves pop out, right? That's what he said. And I said, "Oh no, that's crazy." He goes, "Maybe just like the movies." So we decided to have fun, and we looking around, and sure enough, we find a seam between two bookshelves.
And they have no idea you're kind of snooping in this area, right?
No, that's why we called
That's
off.
why those guys were following you everywhere.
Exactly. So what we did is I asked my buddy, I go, well, let's see if there's anything going on here. You need to back up and look out around the corner. Now, we were, as my wife would say, we were traviesos back in the day. Okay.
Troublemakers.
So we would get into a lot of stuff and have fun, and I mean I used to sneak. I got him and I into Dodger Stadium both with our full size plumbing trucks for free, before because of the way I worded it at the security gate. But that's another story. But that's the type of things we would do. So this was not out of our character. Again, this is why I think God probably placed us there.
You know
So
what's
he
funny? Can I just say something real quick?
sure.
I went into Winston Cup like that one. I've never been to a race in my life, and I bought a jacket outside in one of the big RVs that said Winston Cup on it, and I walked through where all the pit stop the car drivers are going thing, and they said, "Sir," and I said to stop bothering me about this. This is the last time, and I just kept walking, and they just let me go.
That's
So
it.
I understand.
You just have to own it.
Yeah, you got to own it, man.
You
It's
have
all
to
about
act as if,
confidence.
and that's all we did. I went up to the security gate, and I say, I hear you have shit flooding all over the with whatever level it was, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? I go, yeah, Malcolm Rayner just called us. Who's Malcolm Rayner? How would you not know? He's your plumbing supervisor. Oh, okay. He said, meet him at the blue door. Where's the blue door? Can you tell me there? That's all it was. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
drove in there. We pounded on the back of the blue door, and we got to watch the game for free. But anyway, so we're going through, and my buddies has lookout, and I'm kind of shaking and moving the shelves around there, and it popped forward. I'm like, oh, did I break something? And then it popped back. So it probably was on a magnetic latch. Sure enough, opened it, and there was a door right behind it. So of course we had to open the door. To my shock, the door opened. I'm like, wow. And you see it goes down into some stairs, right? And I said, let's do it. He's like, we're not going down there. I go, we got to go down there. So I convinced him to go down there. And I said, we'll just close the bookcase
Was there
behind us.
lights or anything, or is it just dark?
There
Dark
was no,
stairway?
there was light switches. It was normal. So it was no big deal. It just lit all up. So I told him, I said, come on, I'll close the bookcase behind us. They will have no clue we're even down here. Because remember, in 93, they didn't have a bunch of cameras all over the house. So
True.
it's a little bit different. So
Yeah.
we went down, and when we got to the bottom, we smelled the stench of cedar. Now, cedar's great. Cedar's great for getting rid of moths. You'll see cedar in closets and so on and so forth. But it was so bad that when we got down there, we literally had to cover our nose, and the eyes were watering a little bit. They had over 30 feet of shoe shelves made out of cedar in this hallway.
So that's
Weird.
to stop the moss and fungus from growing. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Is that what they
that's
use
what
it
they
for?
say they use it. So, and these were shoe shelves. So they use it for shoes. They use it for garments. People will put cedar blocks inside their closets in order to stop that stuff. And then smell in a little block is great. But when you have, 200 cubic feet of this stuff, it was overwhelming. At the time, I didn't understand the ramifications. I know now what's going on. And so we were joking around. Does Imelda Marcos own this house? Because, Marcos's wife was known to collect shoes back in the day. So we walked past this, and then we get in there, and there's a viewing room, which now would be a little bit more normal, but there was a huge screen with the projector and a whole bunch of
So there
leather
was a
chairs.
movie. There was a movie type theater in there.
Exactly. There's a movie theater underground. And then we went past that, and there's another door, and under from that door, look, if I remember correctly, it was like a mini bowling alley, right? And a whole bunch of things for kids to play in there, which is very odd. Why would you have kids underground in the first place?
Right.
And then we went further, and there's at the end, there's a steel door with a lock on it. I couldn't get through there, but we can imagine where that can go. I would assume Playboy Mansion, Getty Center, like you say, to many other homes
Yeah, to
underneath there.
stop other, probably a connection to other homes or the mansion. Yeah, that would make sense, right? And then you would need a lock on that so people just didn't come in and out.
I'm assuming, right? And so so it was there. We could not get through that. And if you pull the city plans on this house for what you can still get, a lot of them are covered up. You don't see any work underneath. There's no tunnel work, no basement work, nothing like that. So it's interesting that that would be under there. So that's real life. Saw it with my own eyes. That exists under there. So now we fast forward 20 some years, and I have a construction business now, right? And I happen to be doing design, outdoor design for, we would do high end outdoor kitchens and barbecues and all that good stuff outside. So my new client was the ex-wife of somebody extraordinarily famous, like so famous I would think everybody in the world except maybe in remote areas in Africa would know this person. That's how
Okay.
famous this person is.
Jeez.
And this is the ex-wife that I met, and we became pretty close, as in friends, um, due to the fact that she was a Trump supporter and she was blackballed from the entertainment industry because she's a Trump supporter. So we would have these conversations. I never mentioned this thing because I've still, even that day, I didn't think of the ramifications of this place, right? And I'm talking to her. This is a few years ago, and I mentioned to her. I said, I was at this celebrity's home. I did some work. They do parties, and then she named the name of the estate to me.
She knew it right off the top of
She
her
knew it
head.
immediately. Now, I didn't know of this secret name, which I will reveal on your other channel. I didn't know the name of the estate, and then I said I named the person that bought it, and then she turned white. She's like, she just turned white. And then we started to talk deep. Wow, I just got those God bumps I get when I'm telling this
Yeah.
story sometimes. So then we started to talk further, Nino, and she explained to me that they would hold these huge celebrity parties there, right? In fact, the largest celebrity party in Hollywood would be held there every single year, and they under the guise of a
At that
charity
location you were at.
at that exact location. And it turns out that the owner, the reason why he bought this property is so he can get his foot into Hollywood, because he made a promise to the previous owners, a contract from what I hear, that he would continue to hold these parties in perpetuity.
Oh my gosh. These underground
And so,
ritual parties. Yeah.
well, she said above ground. By the way, I don't even know if she knew there were tunnels by what I'm going to tell you next. So what happened is they would hold these huge parties, and you would have I won't say the name here, but you had an ex-president that was there, that was directly connected, and you had somebody that is very, very popular in in the disclosures on doing things
Yeah.
to children and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. That's what's going on. So she actually connected the dots, and I will be able to show you. I'm not going to say it here because now this is all about names now.
Okay.
How a president, while in office, was doing nefarious things in that house, and we thought he was in a different location. And this other person that's very, very popular, that's being investigated for bad stuff right now, is directly connected to the guy that bought the house in a level that will blow your mind.
This
And
is crazy.
it's about the most
Um,
sinister that it possibly can get when I tell the rest of the story.
okay. Then we're gonna go to Nino's Corner.tv, folks. I'll see you over there. This will be up immediately. I'm gonna put this up immediately. Lewis, man, you're pretty brave coming out talking about this, man. But
It's
I
what
don't
I
think you have a choice, and I think this is the right time.
We don't have the choice, and I feel we're protected, and hopefully we can get it to the right people in the administration.
Well, I have Cash Patel's direct line, so I know I just don't bother him because I know he's so busy. But this is something I would bother him with. This is unbelievable. All right, Lewis, thank you so much for joining me. Where do people find you?
Just go to screwbiggov.com, screwbiggov.com. All my access to all my channels, my social media, and all the documentaries that I've done on uh, trafficking and the hurricane and a whole bunch of other stuff are on there.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. I know you're pretty eyeballs deep into this as I am, with everything that's going on behind the scenes and everything that we're seeing. You've interviewed a lot of the same people and stuff like that. Do you think a big move from the deep state is coming fairly soon? Do you think another big move from them is coming, or do you think we got a couple years, or do you think a couple months?
No, I think it's imminent and very close. And I don't do even I just
Yeah,
based on the conversations I've had, based on the direction. They're like a lioness protecting their cubs right now, and their cubs are the evil, right? And they're in a position right now. They only have certain things. They have,
be careful with that stuff. Yeah,
yeah, a
I get what you're
couple
saying.
of other things like that. And so I'll just explain it like this, and this will make sense. So when Rudy Giuliani went down and took down the mob in New York, they got the first two tiers. What they never predicted, and they did a great job through the RICO acts. In fact, I talk a lot about RICO. What they never predicted is the ramifications of all the cockroaches scurrying around and trying to vie for a leadership position within the mafia. And then their work got harder, not easier. I think that's where we are with the Trump administration right now.
Which is why it's taking so long. Which is
Absolutely.
why this is an operation. Let's call it the Trump operation. But I mean, this is taking a very long time because it's like termites. You got to fumigate for them. You got to get the whole house and not leave one alive, right?
Yeah. Well, we're in a 1,000 year reign of terror. It's not going to fix it overnight.
Good point. All right, Lewis. Let's see you over at Nino's Corner TV. Get over there, folks. We're about to hit this hard right now. Thank you, Lewis.
Awesome.